Kim Yuna stood near the tall glass windows of the diplomatic hall. Outside, the twin suns of Velos Prime painted the sky in shades of orange and purple. She had been on this planet for 3 months now. She loved the sunsets here. They reminded her of home. She was 28 years old. Her black hair was tied back in a simple knot. She wore the gray uniform of Earth's diplomatic service. Around her neck hung a small silver pendant. Her brother Taiho had given it to her before she left Earth. He told her it would keep her safe. Yuna believed in peace. She believed that humans and aliens could learn to understand each other. That was why she became a diplomat. That was why she came to Velos Prime. But today, something felt wrong. The diplomatic summit had started like any other. Representatives from dozens of species filled the great hall. There were the tall, scaled Velori with their cold yellow eyes. There were the small, furry Keth who spoke in quick whispers. There were beings of all shapes and colors. And among them, a handful of humans. Yuna was supposed to observe. Earth was still a minor power in the galaxy. Humans had only been part of the Galactic Assembly for 60 years. Most species did not take them seriously. They saw humans as emotional, primitive, short-lived creatures who would fade away like so many others before them. Yuna did not let this bother her. She smiled at everyone. She learned their languages. She remembered their names. She believed that kindness was stronger than power. The trouble began when a Velori warship commander named Torek entered the hall. Torek was large, even for a Velori. His scales were dark green, almost black. His eyes held no warmth. He walked through the crowd like he owned the building. Perhaps he thought he did. The Velori Dominion was one of the strongest powers in the galaxy. They had hundreds of warships. They controlled dozens of star systems. And they did not like being questioned. Today, the Keth Collective had questioned them. A trade dispute had turned into an argument. The argument had turned into threats. And now Torek stood in the middle of the hall, his soldiers behind him, demanding that the Keth back down. The Keth refused. Torek's yellow eyes swept across the room. They landed on the human diplomats. Perhaps, he said, his voice cold and rough, we need leverage. What happened next was fast. Too fast. Torek gave an order. His soldiers moved. They grabbed the human diplomats. They pushed them to the ground. Weapons were drawn. The other species in the hall stepped back. Some looked away. None of them helped. Yuna did not run. She could not run. Not when she saw the children. A group of young Keth had been visiting the summit with their teacher. They were small and frightened. When the shooting started, they froze in the middle of the hall. Yuna ran toward them. She did not think about the danger. She did not think about herself. She only thought about those children. She reached them. She pulled them behind a pillar. She covered them with her body. The first shot hit her shoulder. The second hit her back. The third hit her chest. She fell. The children screamed. Somewhere in the hall, broadcast drones captured everything. The whole galaxy was watching. Yuna lay on the cold floor. Blood pooled beneath her. Her vision blurred. She could see the twin suns through the window. They were still beautiful. A Velori soldier stood over her. He looked down at her like she was nothing. Like she was an insect. Yuna coughed. Blood came up. But she smiled. "Tell my brother," she whispered. "I tried to make peace." Then Kim Yuna closed her eyes and did not open them again. The broadcast drones recorded everything. Her final words. Her final smile. The soldier who stood over her body without a hint of regret. Within hours, the footage spread across the galaxy. Billions of beings watched a young human woman die for children who were not even her own species. They watched her killers laugh. Some species felt shame. Some felt horror. The Valerie Dominion felt nothing. To them, she was just one human. Her death meant nothing. They were wronged out far away. On a warship called the Iron Wind, Commander Park Tai-ho received a message. He was in his quarters when it came. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a face that rarely showed emotion. He had served in Earth's defense fleet for 15 years. He had seen battle. He had lost soldiers. He thought he understood lost. He was wrong. The message contained a video file. He opened it. He watched his sister die. He watched her run toward those children. He watched her fall. He watched her smile, even as her life faded away. He heard her final words. "Tell my brother I tried to make peace." Tai-ho sat in silence for a long time. His hands did not shake. His eyes did not water. He simply sat there, staring at the screen, as something inside him turned cold and hard. Then he stood. He walked to the command deck. His crew looked up as he entered. They had all seen the broadcast. They all knew. Tai-ho stood before them. His voice was calm. Too calm. "Wake Earth," he said. Those 2 words would change the galaxy forever. On Earth, the message spread. Every military base received it. Every ship. Every soldier. Every citizen. They saw Yuna die. They heard her last words. And something ancient woke inside humanity. Something that had slept since the old wars. Something that the galaxy had never seen. The aliens thought humans were weak. They thought humans were emotional and disorganized. They thought one death would mean nothing. They did not understand. Humans were not weak. Humans were patient. Humans built bonds that other species could not comprehend. When you hurt one human, you hurt them all. And when you killed one of their daughters on live broadcast, when you laughed over her body, when you showed no regret and offered no justice, you did not break humanity. You united them. Across Earth, lights turned on in military command centers. Factories that had been sleeping for decades began to hum. Old soldiers put on their uniforms. Young men and women lined up to serve. No one told them to do this. No one gave orders. They simply moved, together. As one, the galaxy did not understand what was happening. They would soon learn. Yuna had died believing in peace. She had given her life for alien children. She had smiled at the end. Her brother would not smile. He would make sure the galaxy remembered her name forever. 72 hours passed after Yuna's death. In that time, Earth said nothing. No messages. No broadcasts. No demands. The communication channels that connected Earth to the rest of the galaxy went silent. It was as if the entire planet had simply disappeared. The Galactic Assembly did not know what to make of this. In the great council chamber on the Assembly's home world, representatives gathered to discuss the incident. They called it an incident, not a murder, not an act of war. An incident. The Valerie ambassador was a tall creature named Keth. He had smooth gray scales and a voice like grinding stones. He stood before the assembly with his hands clasped behind his back. He did not look worried. "The Valerie Dominion regrets the unfortunate events on Velos Prime," he said. "We are prepared to offer compensation to the human government. A reasonable sum. This matter need not go further." The other representatives nodded. This was how things worked in the galaxy. Species fought. Species died. Then money changed hands and everyone moved on. But Earth's seat remained empty. "Has anyone contacted the humans?" asked a representative from the Nera Federation. She was a small being with large black eyes. "We have tried," said another representative. "They do not respond." Ambassador Keth made a sound like a laugh. "They are grieving. Humans are emotional creatures. Give them time. They will accept our offer." He smiled, showing rows of small, sharp teeth. "After all," he added. What else can they do? Far from the assembly, on a small station at the edge of human space, a young man named Leminho was working. Minho was 26 years old. He had dark circles under his eyes from lack of sleep. 3 days ago, his fiancée had died on Velos Prime. She had been one of the diplomats taken hostage. He did not cry. He did not scream. He simply worked. Minho was an intelligence officer. His job was to gather information and coordinate with human agents across the galaxy. Right now, he had one mission: get every human out of Velori-controlled space. He worked in a small room filled with screens. Messages came in from dozens of worlds. Human families asking for help. Human workers trapped on Velori stations. Human merchants hiding in their ships. Minho answered every message. He gave instructions. He arranged transport. He made sure no human was left behind. On one of his screens, a map showed the progress. Thousands of blue dots, each one a human, moving away from Velori space. Moving toward safety. The Velori did not notice. They were too busy celebrating their victory. That was their first mistake. On Earth, in a simple room in the capital city, Secretary General Choi Hana prepared to speak. Hana was 63 years old. Her hair was gray and cut short. Her face showed the weight of many difficult decisions. She had led humanity for 8 years. She had never imagined she would have to lead them to war. She stood before a camera. This broadcast would go to every human in the galaxy. Only humans. The aliens would not see it. She took a breath. Then she spoke. 3 days ago, we lost one of our daughters. Her voice was calm, steady. There was no anger in it. That made it more frightening. Kim Yuna was 28 years old. She believed in peace. She believed that kindness was stronger than weapons. She gave her life to protect children who were not even human. Hannah paused. The Velori Dominion has offered us money. They think we can be bought. They think our grief has a price. She shook her head slowly. They do not understand us. They have never understood us. Behind her, a screen showed Yuna's face, young, smiling, full of hope. We did not ask for this. We wanted peace. We wanted to be part of the galactic community. We wanted to believe that there was justice in the stars. Her eyes hardened. They taught us otherwise. So now we will teach them. Every factory on Earth is now working for the war effort. Every ship is being prepared. Every soldier is ready. We will not negotiate. We will not accept compensation. We will not stop until every being responsible for Yuna's death stands before us. She leaned closer to the camera. They took one of our daughters. They will learn what that means. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, humans watched. On ships and stations, in colonies and outposts, they watched. And they understood. The time for peace was over. Back at the Galactic Assembly, the representatives continued their meeting. They discussed trade agreements. They argued about border disputes. They acted as if nothing had changed. Then Earth's holographic seat flickered to life. Everyone fell silent. But instead of a human diplomat, the seat displayed an image. It was a photograph of a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Kim Yuna. Below her face, there was a date. 7 days from now. And below the date, a single sentence. Surrender every individual responsible for her death, or face the consequences. The representative stared at the image. Ambassador Kef laughed. Is this a joke? They threaten us? The mighty Velori Dominion? He turned to the other representatives. Do they not know who we are? We have crushed species far stronger than humans. We have thousands of warships. They have what? A few hundred outdated vessels? He shook his head. Let them have their deadline. Let them have their grief. In 7 days, They will learn their place. The other representatives said nothing. Some of them looked worried. The Nera representative whispered to her aide, "The humans have been quiet for 3 days. I do not like it when they are quiet." Her aide nodded. "What do you think they are doing?" The Nera representative looked at the image of Yuna, still glowing in Earth's seat. "Preparing," she said softly. On his warship, Commander Park Tayo stood on the observation deck. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere among them was Velori space. Somewhere among them were the beings who killed his sister. Admiral Beek Sano, an old man with white hair and a scarred face, stood beside him. "The fleet is ready," the admiral said. 200 ships. More coming every day. Tai-Ho nodded. "Is it enough?" Sun-Ho asked. Tai-Ho was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "My sister asked me once why I joined the military. I told her it was to protect people. She said she wanted to protect people too, but she wanted to do it with words, not weapons." He touched the window. The stars glittered cold and distant. "She was better than me. She really believed peace was possible. She died still believing it." He turned to face the admiral. "The Velori think we are weak because we wanted peace. They think our kindness makes us soft. They are wrong." His eyes were cold and hard. "We wanted peace because we know what we are capable of when we choose war. We know what happens when we stop holding back." He looked back at the stars. "In 7 days, the galaxy will know too." The admiral nodded slowly. He had served for 40 years. He had seen many things, but he had never seen anything like this. Every human in the fleet had watched Yuna die. Every one of them carried that image in their heart. They did not fight for territory. They did not fight for power. They fought for her, and that made them more dangerous than any army in the galaxy. The 7th day came. The deadline passed. The Velori Dominion did nothing. They did not surrender. They did not apologize. They laughed at humanity's threat and went back to their lives. That was their final mistake. Ranner Station was a Velori military outpost at the edge of their territory. It was heavily armed. 30 warships protected it. The Velori believed it was untouchable. Commander Brock stood on the station's command deck, looking at his screens. He was bored. Nothing ever happened at Ranner Station. It was a quiet posting. Safe. Then his sensor officer made a strange sound. "Commander," the officer said. His voice was shaking. "I am detecting jump signatures." "How many?" Brock asked. The officer stared at his screen. His scales had gone pale. 200. Brock laughed. "That is impossible. Run the scan again." "I have run it 3 times, Commander." 200 ships. They are human." Brock stopped laughing. He walked to the viewport and looked out into space. At first, he saw nothing but stars. Then the stars began to change. Points of light appeared where there had been darkness. More and more of them. They filled the viewport. Human warships. 200 of them. Arranged in perfect formation around Ranner Station. Brock felt something he had not felt in a very long time. Fear. On the bridge of the Iron Wind, Commander Park Tayo watched the Velori ships scramble into defensive positions. They were fast, but not fast enough. "All ships," he said into his communicator. "Begin." What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries. Dr. Oh, Sung-Woo had designed the battle plan. He called it Swarm Doctrine. The idea was simple. Human ships were smaller than Velori ships. They were faster. They could coordinate with each other in ways no alien species could match. Humans had something the Velori did not understand. They called it teamwork. The human fleet moved like a single organism. Small groups of ships targeted individual Velori vessels. They attacked from multiple angles at once. They covered each other. They protected each other. The Velori tried to fight back. Their ships were powerful. Their weapons were strong. But they could not keep track of so many small enemies moving so fast. One by one, the Velori warships fell. Sergeant Yoon Ji-woo watched the battle from the transport ship that carried her squad. She was 31 years old. She had served in the Marines for 10 years. She had a scar on her cheek from a training accident and hands that had seen too much work. Inside her helmet, she had taped a small photograph. It was a picture of Kim Yuna. Ji-woo had never met her, but she carried her picture anyway. "Why do you keep that?" one of her soldiers had asked. Ji-woo had thought about the question for a long time. "Because she died for people she did not know," she finally said. "Because she believed in something good. Because someone should remember her." Now, as the transport ship approached Ranner Station, Ji-woo checked her weapon one more time. "Remember why we are here," she told her squad. "Not for revenge. For her, we do this right. We do this clean. We make her proud." Her soldiers nodded. They understood. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, every Velori warship around Ranner Station had been destroyed or disabled. The station itself had been captured. Human Marines moved through its corridors, securing every section. There was no celebration, no cheering. The human soldiers did their work in silence. They helped wounded Velori. They treated prisoners with respect. They did not torture. They did not humiliate, but they did not show mercy to those who resisted. Word spread quickly across the galaxy. The Galactic Assembly received reports first, then the news networks, then everyone else. 200 human ships had destroyed a Velori military outpost in 3 hours. The mighty Velori Dominion had lost 30 warships in a single battle, and the humans were not stopping. Commander Taiho stood on the captured station's command deck. Behind him, human technicians worked to restore the station's communication systems. When they finished, Taiho activated a galaxy-wide broadcast. His face appeared on screens across 1,000 worlds. "My name is Park Taiho," he said, "Commander of the United Earth Defense Fleet." He paused. His face showed no anger, no hatred, only cold determination. 7 days ago, we gave the Velori Dominion a chance. We asked them to surrender those responsible for the murder of our people. They refused. They laughed at us. He stepped closer to the camera. We gave them 7 days. They gave us nothing. Now we take everything. This is not revenge. Revenge is hot. Revenge is blind. What we do is cold. What we do is precise. We will find every being who participated in the attack on Velos Prime. We will find every being who gave orders. We will find every being who laughed. And we will bring them to justice. He looked directly into the camera. It felt like he was looking at every being in the galaxy at once. The Velori thought humans were weak. They thought we were emotional and foolish. They were wrong. We are not weak. We are patient. We built our civilization on the bones of those who underestimated us. Now the galaxy will learn what Earth learned long ago. Do not touch our families. Do not touch our children. Do not touch the people we love. Because when you do, we do not cry. We do not beg. We do not negotiate. We come for you, all of us, together, and we do not stop. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, species that had never thought twice about humanity began to worry. The Keth Collective sent a message to Earth, promising they had no part in the attack. The Nera Federation did the same. Dozens of smaller powers sent diplomats to Earth, begging to be excluded from the conflict. Earth did not respond. They did not need to. Their message was clear. On Ranner Station, Sergeant Ji-woo, stood on the observation deck. The battle was over. Her squad had performed well. No casualties. Clean work. She pulled out the photograph of Yuna and looked at it. "One down," she whispered. "We are coming for the rest." She put the photograph back in her helmet. Then she went to help her squad prepare for the next mission. The Valori Dominion still had many stations, many ships, many soldiers. It did not matter. Humanity was coming for them. All of them, together. And they would not stop until the debt was paid. In the Galactic Assembly, Ambassador Keth received the news of Ranner Station's fall. He did not laugh this time. He did not smile. For the first time in his long life, he understood fear. The humans were not like other species. They did not fight for territory. They did not fight for resources. They fought for something the Valori could not understand. They fought for love, and that made them terrifying. 3 months had passed since the war began. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Human fleets moved through Valori space like ghosts. They appeared without warning. They struck with precision. They destroyed military targets and then vanished before reinforcements could arrive. They did not conquer. They did not occupy. They simply destroyed and moved on. Station after station fell. Fleet after fleet was scattered. The mighty Valori Dominion, which had stood for 1,000 years, was being taken apart piece by piece, and through it all, humanity asked for nothing. No territory, no resources, no power. They only wanted one thing: the people responsible for Yuna's death. Lee Minho had not slept more than 4 hours a night since the war started. His intelligence network spread across dozens of worlds. Human agents gathered information. They tracked enemy movements. They identified targets. But Minho was looking for one target in particular. Torak. The Valori commander who had ordered the attack on Velos Prime. The one who had stood over Yuna's body without regret. The one who had laughed as she died. Finding him was not easy. Torak had fled from the front lines as soon as the war began. He was a coward at heart. He had hidden himself in the far reaches of Valori space, protected by loyal soldiers and layers of security. But Minho was patient. He gathered information. He followed leads. He pieced together the puzzle. And finally, after 3 months, he found him. Torak was hiding on a small moon called Virith. It was a frozen world at the edge of Valori territory. He had 300 soldiers guarding him. He thought he was safe. Minho sent the information to Commander Taiho, the Iron. Wind arrived at Virith 2 days later. Taiho stood in the briefing room, surrounded by his best soldiers. Sergeant Jiwoo was there. So were 50 other Marines, each one handpicked for this mission. "Our target is Commander Torak," Taiho said. "He is the one who ordered the attack on Velos Prime. He is the one who killed my sister." He paused. His voice remained calm. "I want him alive. I want him to stand trial before the entire galaxy. I want everyone to see justice done." Jiwoo raised her hand. "What about his guards?" "Give them one chance to surrender," Taiho said. "If they refuse, do what you must." The Marines nodded. They understood. The assault on Virith was swift and brutal. Human dropships descended through the frozen atmosphere. They landed around Torak's compound. Marines poured out, moving in coordinated teams. The Valori guards fought back. They were well trained. They were loyal to Torak, but they were also afraid. They had heard the stories about what humans did to those who stood against them. Jiwoo led her squad through the compound's outer defenses. They moved fast and quiet, clearing room after room. Some Valori surrendered when they saw the humans coming. Others fought to the end. Jiwoo did not enjoy killing. She did not hate the Valori soldiers. They were just doing their jobs, following orders. But she thought about Yuna. She thought about the photograph in her helmet, and she kept moving forward. In the center of the compound, they found Torek. He was in a large room filled with expensive furniture. He wore golden armor. He held a weapon in his hands, but his scales had gone pale. His yellow eyes were wide with fear. Commander Taiho entered the room alone. He was not armed. Torek pointed his weapon at Taiho. "Stay back. I will kill you." Taiho kept walking toward him. "You killed my sister," Taiho said. His voice was quiet. "You shot her while she was protecting children. You stood over her body and felt nothing." Torak's hands were shaking. She was just one human, one insignificant creature. "Why do you care so much?" Taiho stopped in front of him. He looked directly into Torak's eyes. "Because she was ours." Torek pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. The weapon had been disabled by human engineers before the assault. He dropped the weapon and fell to his knees. "Please," he begged. "I will give you anything. Money, power, information. Just let me go." Taiho looked down at him. For a moment, Jiwoo thought he might kill Torek right there. She would not have blamed him, but he did not. "You were right about one thing," Taiho said. She was just one human, one young woman who believed in peace, who believed in kindness, who died trying to protect children she had never met. He leaned closer. "And for one human, we burned your empire. Imagine what we would do for all of them." He turned to the Marines. "Take him to the ship. He will stand trial before the Galactic Assembly." The trial was broadcast across every world in the galaxy. Torek stood in chains before the assembly. His golden armor was gone. His pride was gone. He looked small and broken. Secretary General Choi Hana stood at the podium. She looked at Torek. Then she looked at the representatives of every species in the galaxy. 3 months ago, she said, a young woman named Kim Yuna was murdered. She was a diplomat. She believed in peace. She gave her life to protect children. She pressed a button. Behind her, a screen showed footage of Yuna's death. The assembly watched in silence. The Velori Dominion offered us money. They thought we could be bought. They thought her life had a price. She shook her head slowly. They did not understand us. We did not want war. We wanted peace. We wanted to believe that there was justice in the galaxy. We wanted to believe that the innocent would be protected. Her eyes hardened. You taught us otherwise. So now we protect ourselves. She pointed at Torek. This man gave the order to kill our people. He felt no regret. He showed no mercy. Now he will face justice. Not human justice. Galactic justice. Because what he did was not just a crime against humanity. It was a crime against every species that believes in basic decency. The trial lasted 3 days. Torek was found guilty. He was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in a prison far from any star. But the trial was not the end. It was just another chapter. As Hana prepared to leave the assembly, she turned back to face the representatives one more time. Let this be a lesson to every species in the galaxy, she said. Humanity does not want war. We want peace. We want friendship. We want to build something good together. She paused. But if you touch our families, our children, the people we love, we will come for you. All of us, together, and we will not stop. The assembly was silent. They had seen many species rise and fall. They had seen empires built and destroyed, but they had never seen anything like humanity. Other species fought for power, for territory, for resources. Humans fought for each other, and that made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. As Taiho walked out of the assembly building, Ji-woo approached him. "It is done," she said. "He will pay for what he did." Tai-ho nodded. But he did not look happy. He did not look relieved. "She is still gone," he said quietly. "No amount of justice will bring her back." Ji-woo touched his arm gently. "No," she agreed. "But the galaxy will never forget her. And they will never forget what we did for her." Tai-ho looked up at the alien sky. Somewhere beyond those stars was Earth. Somewhere was his sister's grave. "I hope it was enough," he whispered. "I hope I made her proud." Ji-woo had no answer, but she stayed with him until he was ready to leave. 1 year had passed since Yuna's death. The war was over. The Velori Dominion had collapsed. Their military was destroyed. Their government had fallen apart. Their territory was now divided among smaller species who had once lived under their control. Humanity had won, but there was no celebration, no parades, no cheering crowds. Instead, there was silence. And remembrance. On Earth, in a quiet cemetery outside the capital city, Park Tai-ho walked among the graves. The sun was setting. The sky was painted in shades of orange and gold. It reminded him of the twin suns on Delos Prime. He found the grave he was looking for. A simple stone marker with a simple name. Kim Yuna. Tai-ho sat down on the grass beside it. He was still wearing his uniform, but he had removed his medals. They felt too heavy today. "I came to tell you it is over," he said quietly. "The war is finished. We won." He paused. A bird sang somewhere in the trees. They offered us a seat on the High Council, the highest position in the Galactic Assembly. No species has ever been elevated so quickly. He smiled, but it was a sad smile. "You would have been so happy. You always believed we could be equals, that we could work together with other species. That peace was possible." His smile faded. "I wish you were here to see it. I wish you were here to help us build what comes next." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver pendant. It was the same one he had given her before she left Earth. It had been found on her body after the attack. Someone had returned it to him. He placed it gently against her gravestone. "I am going to resign from the military," he said. "The war is over. They do not need me anymore. I think I will travel. See some of the galaxy you loved so much." He sat in silence for a long time. "I miss you," he whispered finally. "Every day. I miss you." Far away, on the Assembly's homeworld, Secretary General Choi Hana was preparing for the ceremony. Today, Earth would officially accept its seat on the High Council. It was a historic moment. The first time, a species had risen from obscurity to the highest level of galactic power in less than a century. Hana stood before a mirror, adjusting her formal robes. She looked tired. The past year had aged her, but her eyes were still sharp. Her mind was still clear. An aide knocked on her door. "The Assembly is ready for you, Madam Secretary." Hana nodded. "I will be there in a moment." She looked at herself in the mirror one more time. On her desk was a photograph of Kim Yuna. Hana had never met her, but she kept the photograph anyway. A reminder of why they had fought. A reminder of what they had lost. "Thank you," she said to the photograph, "for everything." Then she walked out to face the galaxy. The assembly chamber was packed. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the seats. Broadcast drones floated overhead, carrying the ceremony to billions of viewers across the stars. Hana walked to the center of the chamber. The representatives watched her in silence, some with respect, some with fear, some with both. She stood before them and spoke. 1 year ago, a young woman was murdered on Velos Prime. Her name was Kim Yuna. She was a diplomat. She believed in peace. She paused. Her death started a war. That war is now over. The Valori Dominion no longer exists. The beings who killed her have been brought to justice. She looked around the chamber. Some of you are afraid of us now. You have seen what humanity can do when we choose to fight. You wonder if we will use our new power to dominate you, to control you. She shook her head. We will not. We did not fight this war for power. We did not fight for territory. We fought because one of our daughters was taken from us. We fought because the galaxy showed us that the innocent would not be protected. We fought because we had no other choice. Her voice softened. But now the war is over. And now we must build something better. She raised her head. Earth accepts the seat on the High Council. But we do not accept it as rulers. We do not accept it as conquerors. We accept it as equals, partners, friends. She looked directly at the representatives. Treat us as such, and we will be the greatest allies you have ever known. We will build. We will create. We will protect the innocent together. Her eyes hardened. But if you forget this lesson, if you ever again think that our kindness is weakness, if you ever again touch our families or our children, you will remember why you learned it. The chamber was completely silent. Hana nodded once. Then she walked to Earth's new seat on the High Council and sat down. The galaxy had changed forever, across the stars. In schools and academies and learning centers, teachers began to teach new lessons about humanity. On one world, a young Valori student sat in a classroom. The war had taken her father. He had been a soldier. He had died fighting the humans. She did not hate the humans. She was too young for hate. She was only curious. Teacher, she asked, why are humans so feared? The teacher paused. He was old. He had lived through the war. He had seen what the humans could do. Because they love each other, he said finally. The student frowned. Love? How does love make them dangerous? The teacher walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Most species fight for power, for resources, for territory. These things can be measured. These things can be negotiated. You can make peace with such enemies because you can give them what they want. He turned back to the student. Humans fight for love, for their families, for their friends, for people they have never even met. You cannot negotiate with that. You cannot measure it. You cannot buy it. He sat down at his desk. When you take someone a human loves, they do not mourn. They do not beg. They do not negotiate. They move. The entire species moves together. And they do not stop until the debt is paid. The student thought about this. So we should never hurt the people they love? The teacher smiled sadly. Now you understand. On Earth, in a small town by the sea, Yoon Ji-woo opened a small cafe. She had resigned from the military after the war. She was tired of fighting. She wanted something peaceful, something quiet. The cafe was called the Sunrise. It was a simple place with wooden tables and large windows that looked out over the ocean. Veterans came there often. They sat together. They talked. They remembered. Ji-woo still kept the photograph of Yuna. It hung on the wall behind the counter in a simple frame. Sometimes customers asked about it. She is the reason I fought, Ji-woo would say. She is the reason any of us fought. Lee Min-ho never came to the cafe. He had disappeared into the intelligence community after the war. He was still out there somewhere, watching, protecting, making sure humanity would never be caught off guard again. Ji-woo did not know where he was, but she knew he was doing important work. She hoped he had found some peace. Some nights, when the cafe was closed and the customers had gone home, Ji-woo would sit alone by the window. She would look out at the stars and think about everything that had happened. The galaxy was different now. Humanity was different now. They had proven themselves. They had earned their place among the stars, but they had paid a terrible price. Ji Woo looked at Yuna's photograph. Was it worth it? She asked quietly. The photograph did not answer. But Ji Woo thought she knew what Yuna would say. She would say that peace was always worth fighting for, that kindness was never weakness, that protecting the innocent was the most important thing anyone could do. Ji Woo smiled. I hope we make you proud, she whispered. I hope we build the galaxy you dreamed of. Outside, the stars shone cold and bright. Somewhere among them, other species looked up at the sky and wondered about the strange, emotional creatures called humans. They had learned to fear them. But more importantly, they had learned to respect them, because humans were not just warriors. They were not just conquerors. They were builders, dreamers, lovers, and that was what made them truly great. The story of Kim Yuna would be told for generations. The young diplomat who believed in peace, who gave her life for children she had never met, who smiled at the end. She had started a war. But more than that, she had changed the galaxy. And somewhere, in a quiet cemetery on Earth, the sun set over her grave. Orange and gold, like the twin suns of a distant world. Beautiful, peaceful, remembered. Forever.